Do you ever wonder what it really means to be human? That beyond the routines, the masks, and the daily hustle, there's a raw, messy, and beautiful reality unfolding right before our eyes. I'm Rick Watson, and this is Humaning, a podcast where I have honest conversations with everyday humans, and together we peel back the layers, dive into the chaos, and celebrate the magic of just being human. As you listen, notice how different parts of your story may appear in the story of others as we all just do our best to live, to feel, and to connect. Welcome to Humaning. Hello, and welcome to Humaning, the first one. Hi Jojo, welcome.
Hi, Rick. Thanks.
Thanks for hanging out on our couch. I guess I wanted to start with, who are you and how do we know each other? Small question. Who are you?
Let's start slow, he says. That's a really big question. Maybe we should just start with how we know each other.
Yeah, let's start with that. How do we know each other?
It's a pretty wild story, isn't it, to start with?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Do you want to do your version or my version?
I think our version.
Okay.
Yeah. You could start and then I'll throw in what I think was the truth.
My recollection is about early last year, I got a message from you on Instagram and you were a friend or a client of Clarissa, who took some photos for me for my website.
Yep.
And you touched base around wanting a coach for men for some of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some Instagram message interaction. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met online in a very different way.
We didn't swipe left or right.
We didn't have to pay anything to subscribe. I remember, there's backstories to both of where we were at that time, and I think that's significant to us. But I remember I'm a chiropractor, but I predominantly work with people's lives and not so much bones and muscles, but I'm looking at the stress that people hold in their lives and in their bodies and how that impacts who they are and how they evolve as humans. So I'm always looking for someone who helps with the mind, not just the body. And life had changed a lot for me back home. I'm from Melbourne. So when Clarissa, I had done a few sessions with her as women's circles, and she'd helped me with a few things over the last few years. And she put up a picture of you, and if anyone's looking for a men's circle or coach or something, and straight away I'm like, yes, like I need good men to refer my male patients to, because I really like men and chatting to men as clients, but sometimes I feel like they need a male person in their life, and I didn't have anyone to refer them to. So we've got the message. I said, yeah, great.
It was pure business.
It was pure business. And then I was like trying to tap into myself and thinking, am I being 100% honest here? And so because she wrote back and go, oh yeah, Rick's great. And then I wrote, actually, that's the energy of the man I'm going to call in.
Shit.
To my life. Yeah.
And how did that go?
So a few months later, close. I moved up to northern New South Wales.
Yeah, we skipped a bit though. Like I
skipped a lot.
Skipped a lot, but I think one of the things we connected on originally was like our work. Obviously, it was a start, but then your mum and my dad passed within probably 6 months of each other.
Yep.
So we both were in the midst of that experience.
Yeah, grief has made me more open to getting rid of things that didn't serve me and letting in things that I know will nourish me. And I remember you posted something about grief, and I didn't know at this stage that your dad had passed away, and you posted something on grief, and I commented, and I was a little bit like, well, you don't always get what your needs met when, or something. I think it was something about not getting my needs met when I was grieving.
Yeah.
And you messaged me my DMs and said, do you want to elaborate on that? And I think I said, like, don't try and coach me. Like,
From very early on.
it was very early on. I said, don't try and coach me. Like, and you go, but like, how's your heart? And I'm like, what do you mean? How's my heart? And then I realized you really meant, how was my heart?
Hmm.
So that was probably the first time I looked differently at how we communicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I think jump a couple of months later.
Oh, I think it's even better before we jump.
Huh?
No, the
I'm
fun.
jumping to like your coaching.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh gosh.
I think it's hilarious that both of us have relatively large aversions to social media, and we're not active at all. I'm not active at all at the moment, either are you. And we met on social media. I think there's some hilarity in that. Yeah.
Yeah, we both really don't like it, and also know that we're really grateful for it at the same time. So that the duality for us, which is why we're not 100% off it.
Yeah, we're voyeuristic. We just don't like sharing our lives. I think that's part of it.
Agree.
Yeah, so fast forward a few months, and I was starting my 3-month reboot program. And we'd still been messaging, but just not
Lightheartedly.
Yeah, not hectically, but
There was curiosity.
there was a little bit of slight eyebrow raising going on. Going, what is going on here?
There was some curiosity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember sharing your reboot on my Instagram, which is funny because I didn't share that much. And I was telling people, like, this is a heart-centered man. I really recommend it. And I was telling my friend Brenda, like, I really think I'd like to do it. But having been in Melbourne for a lot of the lockdowns, I didn't want to do anything that wasn't in person. I didn't want to do anything online.
Yeah.
And so we communicated about that, which led to our first discovery call.
I mean, not call it that.
I never called it that. I don't know what we called it. It's our first call.
You expressed an interest, and I was like, let's just jump on a call and see what's going on, see what's there. And
An interest in what?
The program.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. And then I think we spoke, and normally on these calls, it's like, it might be 20 minutes to find out what they want in the program, and it's just good or it's not a good fit or whatever. But I think 3.5 hours later, got off the phone and I'm like, you will never fucking be my client.
I don't know how honest. Well, I guess you do always want me to be really honest. But the before we actually made the call, I remember writing to you to say, I'm interested in the coaching, but I think I don't want to ruin our dynamic.
Yeah.
And that, as a practitioner myself, I always know that once they become your practitioner, or it's harder to share everything. And I knew you were sharing with me as well along the journey, and I didn't want it to be uneven, and I didn't want you to miss out on me because I was like your student, and I also didn't want to miss out on what we had because I knew that would be, it just didn't feel like we were the right match to be coached.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at being coached.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. I hadn't picked that up. I love that about you. I do. I love how strong and independent you are. It's cool. So I think we had that 3.5 hour call, and then I think I booked a flight within 24 hours and came to Melbourne.
Yeah, because I had a call with Clarissa, and my life is shifting, but I had this feeling stuckness about having because my mum had died less than a year earlier and I didn't want to leave my dad or my family, I felt really trapped. And then after that call, I think it was the next day, he just said, I need to be in the same room as you. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it was pretty much the next week, I think you flew up.
Yeah, down to
yeah.
Melbourne. Yeah.
It's not my strong suit. Flew up in the sky.
So then we bounced. We hung out a weekend in Melbourne, and then you came up, had a weekend here, and we did that for 4 or 5 months, and then you had 10 days up here in end of December, January. And that was the unofficial test run, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was potential floods. It was so hot.
Yeah.
It's rain, looking after your dog.
And I was like, I'm going to show you the best fucking places. I'm going to show you the best beaches, all the stuff that's the opposite of Melbourne.
We ate so much.
We ate
so much
food.
cheese and wine but ultimately, yeah, I didn't want to be away. I didn't want us to be away from each other for very long. So I think as soon as I got home, my paintings had fallen off my wall. So instead of putting them back up, I just rang the real estate agent and said, I'm out.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah, because I was like, I can't be bothered fixing that. And because I knew I wasn't staying, so I just knew I wasn't going to stay.
Yeah. What? This is all exciting and fun, and especially because it's us. But what were you leaving behind in Melbourne?
Yeah, I was leaving behind my family, and we've just got a little family, but yeah, mainly my niece and nephew that I did not want to leave.
Yeah.
And even now I fly and see them in like 5 sleeps, but it's still the hardest thing that I've done. I don't have my own children, so leaving 3 and 4-year-old that I've been there since the very beginning has been really hard. Yeah, and my clients who are listening. But I also note that my clients knew I was ready for something else. But yeah, leaving Holly and Jack.
Yep. Family's big, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you said clients. Do you want to just give a brief? You've been practicing for what, 15 years?
Yeah, since like 2007. So I had my own business Evolve that's still there on the Mornington Peninsula. And over the last couple of years, I'd handed it over to some other women to run because I just got sick of running practice. That's a whole new podcast.
That'll be a different episode.
Yeah, that's a business one. So I became relatively free. I'd spent the last, year of my mum's life looking after her and navigating that. So I had clients that I'd seen for 15 years, but they had I was only able to see a handful.
Yep.
But that handful was pretty important to me. And I'll still see a few of them next week when I fly back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then if we go into what was it, March? End of February, March?
Yeah.
Next year?
Saw a Pink concert. You came down.
Yeah, and we drove back. And we took this thing for a test run.
Yeah, which now when we look back at it, it was kind of crazy how quickly it all happened. But I think we both attribute some of it to your dad and my mum.
Yeah.
Kind of imagine them up in another world, like
high-fiving each other.
Yeah. Ultimately, we make sense and it made sense. And we were both brave enough to suss it out.
Yeah. And here we are sitting on the couch. And I think like the whole idea of this humaning podcast thing is just to have human experiences with my favorite humans. And I guess that's why you're number one. You're on the first one. But no, seriously, I think that's what it all is. It's just these conversations where we just get to be real,
And I think that's the benefit of how we met too. Like we had Zoom dates and we spoke for hours and hours before we physically had actually met each other.
Yeah.
And so communication, and I think you asked some really great questions, and I had conversations with you that I was craving, that I felt was missing in my life.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
yeah, I think that was the big thing. And we had our Zoom dates on this couch. You were in this couch. So I think it was important. So it wasn't just that physical side, that's a bonus, but it was more the, oh, can we delve deep and get to know each other without having to go out and look a certain way and go and eat, and we just would stay home and have our Sunday night date night.
Do this.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it. Like, at one point this year, I realized that my favorite thing was just sitting around doing this, and that felt really meaningful. And you mentioned, like, with your mum, I think one of the things that I got out of dad passing was like similar sort of story around like really thinking and focusing on what matters most, and not worrying about the periphery and the fluff and all the stuff that doesn't matter. And yeah, this year for me, especially with clients and study, and then having you here, and it's just been a whole collection of really beautiful, honest conversations. And I didn't know how much, until I actually experienced that, I didn't know how much that I really yearned for that. So yeah, it's cool how that kind of has just evolved into this little project, and get to have more of them, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it feels lucky to, I mean, we're not serious and deep all the time, but it just feels lucky to have someone that I can communicate on a level that provides some substance in my life. My brother was probably that closest person in Melbourne.
Yep.
But then once he got the little kids, I couldn't even have those conversations with him. Both of us miss that even now, because life gets really busy. And I think you and I, at this stage in our life, we're just really lucky to have it. Well, we create the time and the space
Yeah.
to have that quality conversation and life.
I think that create word is pretty important, because like you work in a practice over at Burleigh, 2.5 days a week, 3 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm seeing clients 3 days a week, and I'm studying. I have my men's circle, so we choose not to work 5-6 days a week, full days, because
Never again.
no, and I think we've both had the experience of being physically, mentally, emotionally burnt out through building our own businesses. And I think that's one of the things where, knowing you and your experience, I felt fucking seen by another human, of like, oh, we've both done that bit. We've done that chapter. And we could easily go back and do that again. I was literally at the IGA a week ago, 2 days ago, and a client's like, when are you going to open the gym again? Like, I'd love to, but
Yeah, and it's tempting, because I remember saying to you, like, are you sure you don't want to? Like, we could. And when we would walk around town, there was that part of us that are craving that space that the communities that we have both created.
yeah,
But it cost me so much by not looking after myself, by creating that community that I had created down in Melbourne. And I think I'm smart enough to not do it again like that, and come up with a better way to still be part of community and create community,
yeah.
but not burn out.
What did it cost you?
It cost me probably my 30s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just focused, driven,
Yeah.
pushing.
Always on call. That people pleaser in me was looking after others, and then when COVID hit, it was sort of amplified.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I loved it. It brought me some joy too. But when you step out of that, I realized I was like missing a lot of moments, and I was catching up with people when I really didn't feel like I had time to catch up with them.
Yeah.
So I wasn't present with my family. It's probably a regret. I'm allowed to have them. I was thinking people think I have no regrets. I'm like, yeah, I do. Like,
Heaps of regrets.
when someone passes, you're like, oh, I wish I didn't work so much so I could have dinner with my family more often.
Mm.
And when I was there, I was like texting appointments or clients. Yeah, I can see that difference now. When I show up with my family and my friends, I'd rather just have the time to be with them, completely present. Where before I was in the back of my mind having to do payroll, or I didn't even know what I was doing, but it was.
What do you think was the driving force for you back then? Like, what was the motivating factor?
I probably wanted people to belong, have somewhere to belong.
Yeah.
And I knew how important that was to me. You know, we were raised in a family that were really big in the community, and sidetrack, but I spent a lot of time in Africa, and I realized the community was what kept them healthy.
Yep.
It wasn't the supplements, it wasn't the fresh water, it wasn't the exercise, it was community. And so when I came back from Africa, and that's when I built Evolve, it was so others could help look after each other.
Yeah.
And that was, that's what kept me going.
I felt goosebumps when you said that.
Is that what you wanted to create with your gym?
No, just the whole concept of, I'm not sure of your exact words, help others, help each other.
Yeah.
Something around that.
Yeah.
But yeah, because to me, that's a step of like, I want to help people is one thing, but I want to help people help other people is a whole different thing.
Yeah, because people love it. I mean, we obviously get a dopamine hit, but I remember there's a little boy, Jasper, and he's doing really well now. It's a bit cheeky, but he had leukemia at 2.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of our practice. And so a lot of the mums would just make meals for their family. And so it was by having that resource of the community that I could help Jasper. But I never...
In a way that was...
Yeah, I didn't cook a meal. Getting better at cooking now. But it was more those things over and over again. And people would bring over their extra produce or leftover nappies, or we'd have things dropped off all the time and shared, and we had working bees for different families. And it's the community of, I think, what my soul is craving. And in saying that, I'm an introvert and I need my own space. So that's probably the burnout too, of looking after so many people and having lots of people. And they were looking after me as well, but I also needed my own space to replenish.
I think my version of that was, I felt like I had to keep pushing for the community because and this was in our CrossFit gym, and I don't know, it's an interesting one. I felt it was my role to make sure that everything was okay, and I actually didn't surrender enough to the power of the community, and I didn't ask enough questions, or didn't ask for enough help. I was like, I have to fucking do all this heavy lifting, and I didn't. There was people that were willing, and similar to you, we did lots of community stuff and fundraisers, and we upgraded the gym and built it all out, and they all helped, and we just had lots of events. But probably the regret that I have is I felt like I took too much of the responsibility on my shoulders, that it had to be a certain way, and I don't think, looking back, that I surrendered a little bit to the power of the community and let them do their thing.
Yeah, I guess it's empowering them, because I know different people took over different roles at times, but I felt like there was still a lot of logistics and running things past me. And when I'm still trying to see, 70, 80, 100 people a week and try to coordinate that, it was hard to let go, because if probably both of us were coaching people again in there, whether or not they had a gym or a health practice, we would encourage them to build community. Like, that's the number one reason why we grew. And at the same time, allocate some of that community building to other people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, because hands down, like until COVID, we never had a website. We weren't on Instagram. I didn't really hand out business cards. Like everything was word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that's how we built our business.
Cool. And we're talking about literal spaces,
Mhm.
like physical spaces that we did our thing in, I guess. And now both you and I have this slight fascination with the idea of making space in other ways. What does the term making space mean for you now?
Well, I think it's a little hilarious because a psychic more than 10 years ago said, "You'll never find your man until you find spaciousness." I was so angry with her. Sorry, Mary. I never spoke to her again because I'm like, I got so much space. I'm always on my own. I go to weddings all by myself. I thought I didn't know what space was. I knew I was always craving time on my own, but spaciousness for me now is time, whether or not it's allocated or evolves, when you get to follow your internal compass with what's presented at the time, rather than being booked in. I'm not good at being booked in. That's not space. Even to get me on the couch at 12 today, I fluff around, but I want to listen to my own energy and that of the universe and whoever else is at play with me, rather than planning it all out. And that's space for me.
So for you, routine can be an enemy.
Yeah, it kills me.
Yeah.
And I've never lived with anybody, and now
Yeah.
well, I have, but not, yeah, it's a bit different for me to actually realize that I do have space in a relationship and I also have space at work. Yeah, that there's just a lot of areas that I'm trying to create space in.
Mm.
The main thing for me is not to get caught up in default when other people plan your week and your days and your time, and that's what I do not like. See my whole body change.
No, not just directed at me.
No.
As well.
Oh, we were talking to our friend recently and she said about dancing on a Wednesday. And I said, I just can't commit to every Wednesday doing something, even though it could be great, because it's a night that we keep free to see what happens. And that's for me.
So what's the knock-on effect for you when you don't have the space, or you don't create the space, or you don't find the space? Like,
my will to live diminishes really quickly.
it's true, isn't it?
Yep.
It's like, fuck this.
It's pretty dramatic because I think when you talk about manifesting or creating the life that you want, if it's already planned out and you already know exactly what it looks like, you don't really need to be here for it because it's already done.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't need me to participate. It just needs me to turn up to this appointment and to that dinner. And I drown with that because then I don't get to play in the moment of what I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I miss out on the opportunities that the universe, something bigger than me, is throwing at me, which is way more exciting than I go to Aldi every Tuesday morning to do my food shop.
And I think we've both been playing around with this. Like, I'm studying Gestalt therapy this year, and one of the concepts in there is like the concept of liminal space. And I think we've both sort of latched onto that idea around that liminal space between certainty and uncertainty. So if the routine and the schedule was certainty, and uncertainty is not knowing what's going to happen, it's like that liminal space between the two. And we're trying to get better at protecting our liminal space and seeing what emerges from that. I actually think like these conversations, this platform, like dialogue is a really interesting one to see, to go into a dialogue without an agenda. Like today we literally didn't have a plan. We were like, how do you want to start this? I don't know. You're doing it.
Lead me.
But that's the expression of liminal space. It's like, let's just see what emerges when we sit in this space, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable that it's not structured or agendaed, but on the other side of it, there might be some fucking magic.
And it takes away, if you don't have that space, like the weather and what other things are happening, or One of us could get a cool phone call from a family member or a friend, and then it changes our energy in a good way or not. It just allows you to interact with the world how you would like to, or how it's being served. Like, we've got this Wednesday off and the weather looks really good, and now it looks like
Finn's got the day.
Yeah, Finn's got the day off, and we're like, oh wow, what could we do? Whereas if we had planned it already, for me it had already happened.
Yeah.
And now we get to see what the weather looks like, what we all feel like, where we're up to. And it feels like a bonus day rather than pre-planned. Everything's
And I'm just thinking as you're speaking about how since us being together, especially since you're living here, how much I've chose to flex the muscle of not planning, because in my past world, like in the fitness world, it's, if you want this outcome, you've got to do these 5 processes consistently and you'll get the thing. And that mentality was kind of programmed into me just through work and school and all the rest of it. But it's been really nice I think what you've taught me since being here is that, what do you feel rather than what do I want to plan?
Yeah.
What do you feel What do you feel in your body right now? Is it beach or is it mountain? Okay. And that's been really new and fun for me, because I've been so agendaed, I think, planned and structured. And so just that, even that little opportunity to listen and honor what's happening in my body and go beach, like full body beach. And it's been really fun.
Yeah. And it's nice to see you even yesterday when we were watching the tennis, and then you're like, hey, do you want to go and share a meal? I'm like, yeah. Because it was what you desire, like you listen to your body. And then I get to reciprocate if that feels right for me too. And then knowing that we can both speak our truth. And of course, there's things that we have to do. In my job, I do have some set hours and I see people at set times.
Yeah.
Which creates the masculine and the feminine of the flow of our energy. So, yeah, I like seeing how we've worked that out. And I can see when, like, we've got something planned for dinner, and then I'll talk to Finn. I'm like, hey, do you want fish and chips? I'll talk your dad into it. And because we felt like that but it was because it was a Friday night and it was warm and we'd played pickleball. It was a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know that we'd planned this curry, but I literally don't feel like it anymore. And I could see your mind going, yeah, we could do that. And then I'm like,
I'm not rigid.
And then Finn and I were just laughing. I was like, oh, it's great to have that someone else on my side.
Definitely.
So it's about honoring how you feel. For me, it's about honoring how I feel in this moment. And the more moments that are clogged up by things that I do not feel like doing, the more life force feels like it's taken from me.
It's like a cage, isn't it?
Yeah. And I only can give a certain amount of, what is the word? Yeah, I can only allocate so much time that's predestined.
Yeah.
In every week. Otherwise, I feel like, I'd rather not be here.
What is it? That feeling of too much of the pre-planned, what does that feel like in your body, emotionally, mentally? Like, what's that experience like for you?
Well, it kind of makes me want to cry now. Like, thought of it feels completely trapped. I feel like I can't breathe, and like I haven't been seen, and I'm slowly being killed. It's pretty dramatic for me.
But it's real.
Very real.
Yeah.
Because I know how it feels to feel free.
Yeah.
And to the magic that can happen when I go with my flow, when I go with the moment, and then when I see what the universe has to offer, I see the contrast.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of when I was like living in Africa, I could just do what I wanted, and the opportunities that came my way, the my ability to listen to my own intuition. I could pick up a language so quickly because I just had to speak it.
Yeah.
And where here, I'd be like, first of all, there's like things that you are allowed to do and not allowed to do. But I mean, even you can't even ride a bike without a helmet. Like there's silly things that you can't do all the time here. So when I was in Africa, I felt what it was like to be truly free. And then I got to realize my capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So the more they're taken away from me, they realize I'm just a prisoner. Yeah. Which is why I have a prisoner fetish.
You do watch some weird shit on YouTube.
Oh, I'm fascinated by people who are in jail and, Project Innocent and the people that have like.
It's a freedom thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a freedom thing. And how do they free their mind? Because a lot of them end up finding God or finding their way to be free in the constraints of a prison. Fascinating. And I've never been to jail.
Yeah.
I don't have a police record.
What I'm curious about around that. What?
In Australia.
Yeah, in Australia you don't. Africa though. I'm curious how you resource yourself when you get into that state where there's near tears, body tightening up. Like, what do you do in that situation?
I'm not proud of it, but I usually explode and just crack it. And I'm learning now that I have to just voice it earlier. But usually it would just be burnout. And when I say crack it, in the past, it would look like just leave the country. So it got, yeah. So that's probably why I've done a lot of traveling the world. Because when it just got too full and work was too busy, I would just plan a trip and go away. And then COVID hit and we were locked down for so long, I couldn't actually run away. Couldn't travel, that was really hard.
Yeah.
And it was a blessing.
Because that was your resource, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was my resource. Like, crack it, burnout, fuck it, I'm booking a flight. And then,
freedom.
Yeah.
Fill up the freedom cup, come back. Okay, I can do this again for a bit.
Yeah, convince myself that I can keep on going. And then, yeah. Where now, because we communicate along the way, you see the difference in me. And there's times when, recently I've been working a lot and then I had a Saturday, Sunday, Monday seminar. I knew that was going to be too much pre-programmed life.
We did know that, didn't we?
Yeah, and it was hard.
And you verbalized it.
Yeah.
And we adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does it feel like the communication is more of the middle ground between holding it all in and exploding?
No, I think communication is just really softening it for those around.
Oh, yeah.
But in hindsight, it's like I just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like anaphylactic to me.
So
it's like when people like can't have peanuts. Like some people say they don't eat gluten, but some people really can't eat gluten. And I'm like, I really cannot have every day, every hour of the week pre-programmed. If you want me to be happy and healthy and well and likable, and
it's just fucking good to know about yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, this is me. This is the human.
I'm at my best.
Yeah.
And if things change, I'm actually fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is what traditionally people struggle with, is like, can you accept the reality of who you are?
Mm-hmm.
Can you accept your patterns? Can you welcome them all in, smile and laugh at them, but also know that you're working within the realms of that pattern, within the borders of that pattern?
And I did know this about myself when I came here, which is why also when I started working, I knew it was only going to be like 2.5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we would create space.
You set the conditions well. We keep Wednesday free and we keep most of Monday free. So we have flow days, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they always fill up, as life does, but most of the time it's meeting our needs rather than everyone else's.
Does it meet your needs?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'll never work 9 to 5, and I would never imagine wanting to be with someone who did.
And I think
it wouldn't match me.
Yeah. And that's not to say that we look badly on that, because that's often a
No,
practicality
it's
of life.
my match.
It's your choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my match. And since year 2000, I think, like I did with Paul Burgess, the instinctive drive. So I was always knowing what drove me.
Yeah.
And, I worked for that company, and it's like a Myers-Briggs profiling tool. I've always known what triggers me and what doesn't, and I've played into it. And so now that I've seen that, and, we've talked about the human design recently, I know what works for me and what doesn't. And I still have some routines. I still have vitamins that I never change, or makeup that I never change. Or, I love that you take out the bin every night, whenever it is. I don't even know what night that is. Wednesdays. Like I do, like, I'm consistent in some things.
In letting me take the bin out.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think it's a dangerous way to start the sentence, isn't it? I think. I can't remember what I was going to say.
No, I think you were trying to maybe protect people who do like the 9 to 5, or like I acknowledge. Yeah. Because for me, some of them are my favorite people, and they're my favorite clients, because that's how they get energy. But the whole point of this is, like, what gives you life force and what gives you energy.
Yeah.
My friend Livia, I've watched her, and she goes, oh no, I get energy from getting up super early, getting my food prep done, and going for a run. Like, that's
Kill
her.
me now.
Yeah, and then that worked for her.
But I get that works for some people.
So work out what suits you.
Yeah. I think probably the other side that we're familiar in is that we've come from such a big burnout experience that it probably is only natural to course correct a little bit, to not sliding straight back in, or not straight back in, but at all, choosing to not replicate what we did in the past, the same mistakes, the same mental, physical, emotional, downside of it.
Because we know what that looks like.
Yeah. We know that reality. And it was not good.
And we will go hard again. Like,
yeah, we do.
We've whatever ideas we come up with the future, it's not to say we're not going to work 10 days straight on going hard on a project. Like, I can see us doing that. It's just not all day, every day, already seeing what it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked at Toys R Us for years, and like I was great at those jobs.
Corporate jobs for quite a while.
Yeah, I was in the corporate world and done lots of different things, and I liked the certainty of some of that bought me.
Yeah.
But it just didn't sustain me for a long time. I was always looking elsewhere for something else.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind having paid holidays.
Okay. Yeah, there's an upside to everything, a downside to everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the freedom more.
I need the freedom more, yeah.
Yeah. I feel really blessed at the moment because I'm basically part-time working, part-time studying. And the part-time study is like firing little neurons in my brain. Like, what I know about myself is that I like to, ideation is a strength of mine. So joining the dots. And so I feel like I'm in this reality where I get to study this essentially human experience, and then I get to have one-on-one clients and the men's circle, and now the podcast, and it feels like that they're both so supporting of each other. Can you hear the dog?
Yeah, we have a dog.
We were going to bring the dog in, and I'm like, he's just going to bark, and he's outside now going.
He doesn't like us together.
Oh, he just doesn't like being apart. He's the shadow.
We can bring him in a sec. When you were saying that, every week for us looks completely different.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, when we get to like last Monday was pretty like, I don't know, had a bit of
disconnected.
Yeah, we were disconnected, and my energy was definitely low, and and then this Monday's different. And because our week has a little bit of study, a little bit of clients, a little bit of creating, a little bit of space, some predictability to keep us on our path.
Wednesday night,
it looks really
enchilada night.
Yeah. Boys eating the same thing every Wednesday kills me.
Yeah.
I think we're doing well. And I think anytime both of us work with our clients, it's not trying to get them to create a life that's like us or ours.
Oh, hell no.
They would hate it. But it's like, well, what does it look like for you?
Yeah.
Like, what does your life look like?
What matters most to you?
Yep. And what blockage do you have in the way of just, sometimes it's not that big.
Yeah.
I know when the lockdowns hit and people could work from home, so many people were so much happier because they just didn't have to wear clothes. They could just put on their Ugg boots, which we do a lot, and then just work, and they got more done purely because they didn't have to worry about what to wear, get clothes on, go to work, drive. They lost that commute. So how does what small changes do you have to make in your life?
What if it was easy?
What if it wasn't easy? Yeah. And we also choose to live like a pretty simple life too.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
Do you want to let our dog in?
No, he's fine.
Do you want to tell everybody about the fact that your dog didn't like me at the start?
Oh, yeah. That was hilarious. You probably better explain that.
I get.
I think the context is you've moved up here from Melbourne. Finn, my 15-year-old son, is with me every second week, and he brings the dog Rocky, his dog, our dog. So it's week on, week off, dog and child at our house.
Yeah, and he's a chocolate lab, and he's very beautiful. I'm just,
and the kids are right too.
Finn's a legend. I think for me, I wasn't used to a dog waking me up in the morning, like licking me to get fed, and I guess when I was here in January, he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't come. He knew because he got kicked off the bed and he wasn't allowed to be here.
Yep.
He ignored me for days.
Yep.
Even if I had food.
Yep.
Which was pretty massive. And now I look at him and he's embraced the fact that I'm here.
Yep. He has to sleep with his brother instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest, at the moment, what's challenging with being up here, still having clients in Melbourne, work? Like what's challenging about all that for you?
Probably how to allocate my energy, my time, my resources, money. As far as like if I book a flight to go to Melbourne and I see my clients and I don't see my family, letting go of like the end of an era, family, like patients that have become family.
Yep.
Not being as connected to my clients up here because I've really just met them, and it's a very different environment. Like I work on the Gold Coast and it's a different environment than the Mornington Peninsula or even down where we are in the Northern Rivers. So yeah, I guess it's just finding that feeling of where home feels like. Yeah, there's a few things. And I miss the kids.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the main thing.
And I think your family does an amazing job of documenting, videoing, sending stuff. Like they're an elite level of sharing the life. And sometimes that's harder as well because you get so much stuff. Yeah,
I definitely miss that. And I also know that life changes and Holly will be at school soon. But yeah, that's probably the hardest part. And in saying that, how many times have I have allocated things in my life because I was giving to my family or other family?
Well, and I was just thinking.
Yeah, and then didn't quite put myself first. So my family is also pretty happy that I met you and I'm putting myself first. So
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges is that whole change of at least matching some of your needs with what all of your the people in your world. And that's been a huge transition for you.
Because I want this, I want us, and I want our life together, and I want to create something with you, and I miss them.
Yeah,
So it's not,
both things are true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to fly up and back, it's exhausting and it's expensive of my energy and my money, and then I'm usually pretty stressed when I'm there because I can't be what I used to be. That's probably the hardest thing. It's not what it used to be.
You can't be what you used to be.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not Superwoman anymore, Rick. So I can't see as many people as I don't have a space there. I can't see as many people as I used to. Because I haven't seen everyone for so long, they've got so much to tell me. It's hard to catch up with everyone. So I guess I'm breaking up with a lot of people over the last few years as I transition to what I want in my life. Yeah.
How's that feel?
Well, it feels a little bit selfish and necessary.
Yep. Yeah, I feel partially responsible.
Yeah, you are.
And sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone in Melbourne. Really, I am sorry, but not really.
Yeah, but I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Yeah, I get to witness you honouring yourself. And it's challenging, but it's also really beautiful. No.
Well, I think if I didn't, like I always knew there was something that I wanted more than just looking after people. And that was like to have a connection with someone that I really love spending time with.
Yeah.
And bigger. And I'm learning more being in relationship with you than being on my own for so long.
Yeah. And you put that priority, the part around being with someone that you want to be with and share time with, higher than the having kids.
Yeah.
Through not the obligation, but because I should. And yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mum, I think it was like 10 years ago, wanted, and it's cute now, especially in her passing, like I probably could have answered it nicer. She wanted to see if they wanted to give me money to freeze my eggs.
Right.
Just like, I'd rather go on a holiday, but it was more that, oh no, it's not some people, and I love these people and I've helped them conceive their children, but they'll do anything to make sure they're a parent.
Yeah.
But for me, that was never more important than finding the person that I want to be with.
Yeah.
Above everything else. So I did not freeze my eggs, and that wasn't my goal.
Yeah.
And I'm good with kids.
You're amazing with kids.
And I work with them a lot, but at the same time, it just wasn't always in me. Like there was a little boy, Edward, that I fell in love with. Him and his little sister in Africa that I, looked at adopting. It was 2011. It was a long time ago. But it was more that because I was right there in the orphanage and I fell in love with this little boy and I just couldn't imagine leaving him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. It was not like, oh, I'm going to be a mum. Anyway, we ended up finding his family and that's a different story. But yeah, definitely I wanted, the energy of you that I was calling in.
Cool. Well, that's worked out well for both of us then.
Yeah, I just wanted someone to take my rubbish out every Wednesday night.
That's so true.
And not coach me, but listen to me.
Yeah.
Which you do.
I think you came into my life at a good time because I was literally learning. Like I was such a fixer and a rescuer up until, well, still parts of it's there, but I'm pretty conscious about it now. But I think especially starting Gestalt and learning how it's all about being present and sharing resonance and not fixing, not rescuing, not giving advice. And I think our relationship started at a time where I was unpicking some old patterns of mine that were around the people pleaser and the rescuer and like unconsciously getting my needs met by helping and rescuing others. So I think our little worlds collided at a really good time for both of us for lots of different reasons.
And I think that was tricky when we first met too, when we both kind of were flipping out about what does this look like, because I wanted you to be a people pleaser in that, like, choose
Please
me, yeah, please me, but I also didn't want to be rescued. And both of us have had to go through what does love look like? What does giving and receiving look like without rescuing?
Mm.
I remember when I was like, the first few weeks were a bit weird for me to try to work out my own identity and independence and being away from family and
Being away from living by yourself?
yeah, and I wasn't good at receiving, and then I got a flat.
That was funny.
And I was like, shit, I'm going to have to call you. And you came and changed my tire. Because usually I just would have called like the RACV or my dad or my brother. And I'm like, oh my God, I need him. And you loved every minute of it, sweating your ass off as you changed my tire. And I was just like, oh gosh, I'm in a little country town. I'm going to have to, just find that balance between like, where are we people pleasers and where is it loving and caring and yeah, there's a few things that you've done. I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I can accept that. But
It's all just a work in progress, isn't it?
yeah.
Like, to be continued.
Yeah. And now you do want my you do my washing.
Yeah.
To start I'll do my own washing.
Don't touch my washing basket. Okay. You weirdo.
I don't even trust you.
So yeah.
So do you feel like you're a fixer now?
No. I think when I did that work with Jator a couple of years ago, I really learnt that a lot of being in the fitness industry, I was getting a need of needing to be important. And by rescuing others, I felt important.
Mm-hmm.
So we really pulled on that thread and worked out where that started, where it came from, and how untrue the story is. And did a bit of work around that. That's 7-year-old Rick. And yeah, I think since then I've had more awareness of it, and it's probably lost its power a little bit because I find it doesn't sneak up on me as much as it used to. Like, oh fuck, I did that thing again. There's not really much of that anymore. Actually last week, something came up in regards to buying this house, and it was like I caught the rescuer wanting to jump in and just save everything at my own cost. So yeah, I was talking to Luke Shipley, who's going to be on next episode. We were going through similar things, and we both, parts of our rescue, wanted to just save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just old stuff that was like, okay, I can do this. But really, we both let it unfold naturally, and it was completely fine and better because we didn't take over someone else's power and go, I'll do it. So yeah, I'm probably, I'm more aware of it, and I don't get caught. I can catch it before it catches me. And I'm pretty fucking stoked with that.
Same, unless I get a flat tire again. I'm like, rescue me. It's different though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's big. I've seen you not change, like just be more aware of all those things as this year has played out too. You've got people in your life that you look after and you've got a role to play. Just working out what that role looks like for you.
Yeah. And we were talking about it in Men's Circle the other night, like around rescuing and people pleasing, and like the difference between that and just being fucking kind. Like
good humans.
Let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater and just like abolish kindness. Like, you can be like a good human and not be a rescuer at the same time. So there's a dance in there. There's flexibility and agility that needs to be kind of looked at, because I think some people jump to extremes of like, oh, if I'm not a people pleaser or a rescuer, I'm just a fucking hard ass. And doesn't have to be true. It's just, you just get to voice what your needs are a little bit more rather than getting crept up on.
And I think it's watching that dopamine hit of, if you feel good looking after someone else, then you've taken it away from somebody else to feel good having that.
100%. That's the real thing.
Yeah, so it's choosing that. And we were camping on the weekend, and you get bitten by mosquitoes or midges or whatever you call it. And so we didn't have any mosquito. And so when I was over at the shop and we were just chatting normally, that he wasn't selling anything. And at the end he goes, "Oh, you can just borrow mine and just give it to us when you get back, that insect repellent." And so I did. And I just came back. I'm like, it's just from having a nice conversation. He wasn't trying to over please. Here you go, have it. We were just having a conversation, and he said, "Oh, do you want to just like borrow it?" And it felt better than if he was trying to give us something completely, or yeah, I would rather nice, even
Natural.
Yeah, conversation.
Yeah. How good was camping?
I loved camping.
So good.
Yeah. Passed the camping test, everybody. I did grow up camping with my family, and but it was more that we had space. Yeah.
That was the intention. I think that's probably speaks a lot to us now, because like we had I think the last probably 3 weeks before last week were pretty intense. We're in the process of trying to buy this house, and there's lots of work stuff happening for you and study stuff happening for me and health stuff and all sorts of things like everyone else. But what we did acknowledge is like, oh, we're better when we have space.
Yeah. And so we didn't have to go very far, but we didn't have to drive. For me, the biggest thing is not driving somewhere
Yeah.
for a whole day.
To get to the space.
Yeah, to get to the space. And I'd been driving so much. So just, to walk as far as we did and have our simple food, which was good. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. And I think that comes back to that concept of liminal space. Like, we didn't have an agenda. We knew we were just going to have a agenda-free day. And then whatever came from that came. And that was so enjoyable.
And now he knows it's like my medicine that I need. So if I ever get cranky,
I already knew.
He's going to take me away. And it doesn't need to be fancy. And
no.
Yeah, I really loved it. I loved walking off to the shower and like not having to have an alarm and quickly jumping back to a schedule. And
cool.
It's very masculine of you to cook us a big tomahawk steak.
Yeah, it's good. Found a new little camping ritual. It's fun. So I think that's going to be pretty close to our first episode.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think the thing that keeps on popping up, though, that you talk about men's circle, that was also one of the key things that attracted you to, I was attracted to, because I'd been studying masculine, feminine for a long time, just in my own life and with my client. And the way you work with men, I have a lot of respect for men. I have a great dad and a great brother. And I think that was the other joining piece for us with so many relationships that I see the inequality between the men and women. And I just loved that, like, you'd have your men's circle and you'd come back on that night and chat to me, and you'd just have new energy, and for whatever reason. But yeah, it was really important to me that you were like, you liked men.
Yeah.
Attracted to women.
Very attracted to women.
But yeah, that was actually really important.
A massive respect for men and the experiences they go through. And
yeah,
I think part of that, being in circle and hearing lots of stories and then seeing men through community and support just find their feet and come out the other side and just do amazing things that they were always going to do. Well, maybe not always if they didn't have the support. And I think that's part of, for me, realizing that the fixing and rescuing is not necessary. It's like, can we just hold the space so someone else can find their feet in what matters most? So
100%. I know that your circle and will always have my support, and And I also see, because I mainly work with women, how it's the bridge. If the men and the women could have that communication between the two, changes everything. You know, when I see a lot of women for fertility, half the time they don't want to speak to their husband. So there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm curious about in our future too. It's like, how do we bring that gap of understanding men and Alison Armstrong's work in
she's good.
the development of men. Yeah. So every time we bring up the circle, I'm like, yeah, it was also that. And for any of my single girlfriends, I'm like, no, there's good men out there.
There's good men.
Just make sure they're going to a men's circle.
Yeah. If that's the one you're after. Yeah.
I was.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a beautiful place to end. Thank you for having the bravery to get on here with me and two mics. And I guess it just matches the bravery you've had to.
Feels like we're on one of our Zoom dates.
Yeah.
But our feet touch.
Yeah. And we're kind of sharing it with a few other people.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, maybe. These mics mightn't even work. But thank you, baby.
Thank you for having me.
I think you will be a regular.
Not like regular.
Not like scheduled. Not like once every 2 weeks.
First of
Just
every
like,
month.
hey, do you want to come on the podcast tomorrow? That sort of shit.
You watch. He'll have a plan, but he won't tell me.
No, I don't.
That's fine.
I don't.
I know.
I have a list of humans that I'd like to speak to. So, yeah, we'll just work our way through that list and see what happens.
See where we go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Cute.